Welcome, everyone. I'm Lauren Meister. I'm the mayor of the city, West Hollywood, and I'm so glad that you came tonight. We have a very interesting evening ready for you tonight. We are looking forward to getting your feedback. I want to just give you a little bit of a history of how we got here. About a month and a half before the LA Pride in West Hollywood event, there was a big community outcry about some issues with the event. And what we did was we promised that when the event was done, we would hold 2 forums in order to evaluate the event and see how we move forward. So tonight's forum is going to be about getting your feedback to the event, getting your feedback about the event. And the next forum, which will be later in August, will be about how we move forward and what the event, how we envision the event in the future. So I'm going to now invite my colleague, Councilmember John D'Amico, up to say hello and give you a little bit of a historical context.
Thank you, Mayor. Hi, Chris. Hi, guys. So I'm really excited that we're doing this. We, as a city, have a long-term commitment to LA Pride in West Hollywood. That commitment isn't going to change. LA Pride might change. Our park is going to contract quite a bit in the next couple of years. Our residents are getting more and more involved in the planning of this event as non-attendees, but as residents. And our city continues its 100% commitment to this event going forward, because one of what are many very exciting parts about this event is that it happens to happen in the part of Los Angeles County that is known as the LGBT center of this community. So it certainly makes sense to do what we can to hold this event here and to doubly focus on making sure that this event answers those questions every year the best way it can. And so when the mayor and I talked about how I might add some value to this discussion, it was perhaps just to look back 5 years to what has been sort of the 21st century effort around defining what Pride is for our city, for our residents, for the guests. And in early 2012, believe it or not, that's almost 5 years ago, John Duran and I formed what was a task force to work with Pride during the year and to work with our staff, and specifically to work with Rodney Scott and the Pride Board to really think about these 3 categories of things. And those were the parade pacing and its member participants, the entertainment and festival, and how to bring cultural events into the Pride Festival itself. And that was a big task. Rodney had his hands full. It's an incredibly huge event. They were already working at 150% capacity, and the city was providing a level of critique that had happened before. In 2008 and 9, there was a view of Pride. There was one in the early 2000s. There's a report even from the late 20th century about Pride. So we had some documents to refer to, but really we wanted to look at what was happening in 2012. In 2013 and 14, we worked very closely with Jeff Consoletti, who maybe will be here or will be talked about, but his organization produces the entertainment. And our goals for Jeff were to bump up the entertainment. Here he is now, Jeff Consoletti, ladies and gentlemen, entering the room. Our goals with Jeff in 2013-14 were to bump up the entertainment, really begin to consider the visual environment of Pride, that we, at that point, really started thinking that just getting a bunch of people together in a dirt field with grilled meat stands and rainbow beads for sale and music in the background, you know, there was never really that. But that we really wanted to think about the environment we were creating in the city, the culture we were inventing along the way, and we asked them to provide a music plus entertainment environment. And in that 2-year period, there was the water park adjacent to that. There was a big insertion of One City, One Pride into our festival. There was several art openings, there were videos, there were movies, and there was also the skating rink that was added in the 2014 year. Also, what was introduced was Sizzle, which was the sober area. So now, in 3 short years, with LA Pride's intense revisiting of their mission and our vision, they had really moved the ball quite a big distance. And I think what's also important is that under Rodney Scott's leadership, LA Pride really began to look at how the culture of Los Angeles County could be reflected in what was happening at LA Pride, in the music festival stages, in making sure that the T part of LGBT was an important piece of our commitment, that there was a leather contingent and festival, that really there was enough room if everyone decided to make room for the Pride Festival that they wanted to have and that we were asking them to work towards. I just have a little bit more, but I'm hoping this is helpful to sort of see the kind of movement that was produced in the short 5 years. And in 2015, the chairs, Patty and Steve, took over, and they stepped right up and met with us and confirmed that their interest in working with the city of West Hollywood remained 100%. We worked with Jeff Consoletti to increase the music festival atmosphere, as well as the cultural part of One City, One Pride, and arts and cultural affairs atmosphere. And that was the year that brought us the lights across San Vicente Boulevard, and sort of another sort of big move in sort of taking over our city as a place that welcomes in Pride, not just an area inside a chain link fence. And so we then got to 2016, and I just want to make a couple of comments about that, because we really do want to hear from the public. But I think it's important to say that Chris and Craig became the chairs, and they immediately met with the council and immediately confirmed their commitment to producing a Pride that was one that everyone could be proud of and happy with. And we reciprocated and understood the challenges of being new board president and producer, and we worked with them knowing full well that our staff would assist them and they would rise to the occasion. I think the parts that happened before Pride we will certainly hear a lot about, and we want to know from all of you your thoughts. But I just think that one of the things that's important about the context that I tried to put forward was that this organization, LA Pride, has has never wavered in its commitment to producing the best event it can, and has never done, as in any way that I could see, undermined what the city was trying to do, and has always, in fact, accommodated our requests as we have asked them to help us make this as big and important a cultural event for our city as they could. So I'm going to give it back to the mayor, and thank you all for listening.
I want to also introduce Chris Klassen from CSW, who is here this evening. You need to know that the board is here, and they're here to listen. Do you want to introduce the board?
Yeah, great. Hey, everyone. My name is Chris Klassen. Some of you I know. Some of you are, new faces. So I want to first say that myself and the board, who are here in the first two rows, we're really appreciate you coming out. We know it's hot, and you made it out, and we're here for the next couple hours to really, in earnest, listen to what you guys have to say, and we're excited to have you a part of the discussion for 2017. So thank you guys so much for coming out.
Thank you. So again, our goal is that next April, when the staff report comes to us about what Pride is going to look like, we want you to all be happy. We don't want people to come in April and be upset. I mean, because it's April, and then it happens in June, and we have 6 weeks. That's why we're starting this conversation now and not in April. I want to thank Cleo Smith from our special events staff, and thank everyone here who has set this up. And also, just so you know, we do have an online survey at the city's website at WehoTV.org. So if you do not get an opportunity, you should be able to get an opportunity tonight to express your opinions. But if you feel like you left something out, go to our website, and you'll find the survey, and that survey will be open until the end of July. Thank you. So now I'm going to introduce our moderator, Diane Burby of the Aspire Group, and she is going to lead us through this discussion. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. How are you? Good. This is going to be a tremendous listening session, and I appreciate the opening comments and context that gives us an idea of what brings us here. I see some familiar faces in the room, so love you. We want to set the stage for your voice to have priority for this evening. And it is always beneficial to have a sense of how other people in the room are feeling about things as well. So to further this conversation along, I'm just advancing a few engagement ground rules. You'll see that they're not complicated at all. Speak what's true for you. Your perspective does matter. That's why we're having this meeting. It isn't about shutting down or silencing anyone. Also honor that your perspective may differ from other people in the room, and that is part of the point of coming together. Really encouraging you to offer specific examples when you share, because the more detailed or the clearer the picture is, the more actionable the outcomes can be. Assume positive intent. I am going to assume you're coming forward because you had a direct, real experience, or you're motivated to see this event get better and better. That's how I am assuming you come forward, and I would hope that you assume that the input you give is being received and will be used. This is not a placating session. This is actually about getting genuine input that informs the planning process that follows. And offer suggestions and ideas. Our next session in August will focus primarily on that, but that's the spirit that I want you to operate with. Can we do that? Does it work for us? Okay. Now, I am also going to invite you to do something for me. Pull out your phone or digital device. because we're going to use a polling technique to allow you to not only weigh in, but get a sense of how other people in the room weigh in. Once you have your phone, go to your texting function, and the address you want to text to is 22333. And in the content, type in Diane Burbie 936, no spaces. BURBIE. Diane Burbie 936. Once you do that, press send, and that will take you to being plugged into our poll. Now, we're going to test that out immediately, because the first question is, did you attend 2016 LA Pride Festival? If you attended, text A and press send. If you did not attend, press B and press send. And that just gives us a sense of background. So it looks like the vast majority of people in our room tonight attended the festival, and we'll have that sense as you weigh in. Let's stay plugged in and stay plugged in throughout the evening, because I have a series of questions. Yes. Oh, so it's not allowing you to enter your response. Oh, we've broken the internet. How many of you got that message? Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. We'll increase it. You'll have a chance to see, and you know your response. So that's about 6 people. Add 6 to whatever category you want. And know these questions also are online. So that's the survey that the mayor responded to. Have any of you here done the survey online, the city website? Okay, great, just a few hands. So for those of you who don't have smartphones or unfortunately got that maxed out message, I am in particular asking you, please take the survey online at the city, because this is a good way of getting feedback as well. Okay, we have several events that I'm going to ask you to weigh in on, and your choices are as you see. We're going to start with the Dyke March and Rally. What was your favorite what was your experience with this event? If it was one of your favorites, text A. If you were satisfied, text B. If you disliked it, text C. If you did not attend it, text D. It looks like you have weighed in. You have a sense in our room today. This is how people responded based on the collection of folks here. Okay, keep going. And then I'm going to open it up for you to comment, because it was one of the favorites for a good percentage of people, and we want to know what you liked about it. The second event we want you to weigh in is the transgender celebration. What was your experience with this event? Same layout. Very good. Give it 5 more seconds for people to enter theirs, and then we're going to come out of. Okay. That means we've hit our limit. Okay, we're opening up the mic as well, because the technology, is a good sense. It's not perfect, as we can tell. It just gives us a sense. But more so, I'd love to hear your comments. So we're going to take on these 2 events that we brought forward to you at this point, and you can comment on the things that you specifically liked or if there are things you disliked about it, you can come to this mic and we'll ask you to weigh in and speak. Okay, are there folks who want to comment on these two, either one of these events? You can come forward. Okay, and you can have, I'm going to turn it to you.
Okay, great, because that's scary to talk in front of everyone. Okay. So I'm Frankie Darling. I'm actually a program coordinator for the Audre Lorde Lesbian Health Program at the LA LGBT Center, amongst other hats. As a group, as a working group, we actually attended the march. I actually wasn't allowed into the actual rally because I had a megaphone. So I actually had to wait outside. When we tried to get in, it was about a 20 to 30 minute wait to get actually inside because we were on the main entrance on San Vicente and Santa Monica. And just from like a personal experience from coming to LA Pride as being a local Angelino, it always seems like the Dark March only has a representation of dozens of folks. And it just, I'm glad that we're being included in the agenda, but it just always feels like an afterthought compared to like the rest of the weekend. Personally, just being part of our working group at the center, we would like to offer a partnership with the person that's coordinating the march next year for making the event, since we were in front and I wasn't allowed in. We ended up just waiting with the dykes on bikes, and we didn't know what was going on in the rally, what time it was going to end. Police were asking us questions that we could not answer because we did not know who the point person was. So it would just be great to kind of form a partnership where the center can be involved and the lesbian health program can be more involved. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, they will. Absolutely. Anyone else want to comment on, we have two events that we are reflecting on. Come forward to the mic. Come forward to the mic. Love to have your comments. And thank you for starting us off. And we are going to ask you to face the community, because they'd love to see your lovely face as you share.
Thank you. My name is Jasmine Creighton. I'm with APEIT, Asian Pacific Asian Adventure Team, as well as the Transgender Advisory Council of Los Angeles, Greater Los Angeles. First, I want to thank the city of West Hollywood for hosting the stage, the trans stage at night. We were able to not only do the show and have the performers given the opportunity to work and perform and shine, but also have a community event that came, through a little storm and a little, agreement to disagree, but it happened, and it wound up being a very, very, very successful night, and everyone was very grateful that they had the opportunity not only to interact with each other, but to see fellow community members actually up there shining and doing what they do very well, because it's very important to be inclusive in such an exclusive, community at times. And though there's not a big, I don't know if there's a huge trans community living in West Hollywood because of, not being able to afford to live here. But when given the opportunity, you do say it's LGBT. So when given the opportunity and they're given the opportunity to come out and celebrate and shine, it's a big deal. So from this point on, please keep the trans community, gender nonconforming, all the people under that beautiful umbrella and rainbow in your radar. And remember, there's a big community. So if you don't know who they are, go out into the community. Go to the various nonprofits. Go to the clubs where they migrate and congregate and have a good time. But find out who they are so that you know that this community exists. They're beautiful, they're amazing people, and they're doing great things. So I just want to personally thank CSW for making it happen, and thank you.
And as you come forward, if you would share your name and also share what events you attended, and also share the events you attended.
My name is Marna Deach. I did come to the Dyke March this year, though I did not really go inside. And I was one of the Dykes on Bikes that you probably hung out with. I've been traditionally the point person for the Dykes on Bikes and the parade. So I'm the one that has most of the information about when to start and all. This year was very difficult. I did click on C, though it's not showing up. And I've been loving how over the years the Dyke March has actually been growing, and it's been wonderful to see so many more people each year add to the numbers. This year when I went out, well, first when I got there was a lot of confusion. It took so long for people to get into the festival that by the time the Dyke March did get started, no one wanted to come out. So I had no idea how many people were behind me. I'm on the bike, I'm leading the parade. We did the U-turn, and I was shocked to see that it might have been 30, 40 people. We could not get people out. So I would like to see a continuation of a time that focuses specifically for lesbians and trans, and not have that taken away by the music festival. Music festival is wonderful, but since this is West Hollywood, which is a creative city, I'd like us to find a more creative way to bring Pride back for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sue Sexton. I'm a resident of West Hollywood. I was actually on the board for Christopher Street West for 9 years. I joined in 2005 after partnering with CSW to produce a Dyke March. So over the years, the Dyke March was always a partnership between CSW and LA Pride. I resigned a few years ago from LA Pride, but I did reach out to the city this year to ask them if I could volunteer and help them. Their response was that they just weren't getting the information from CSW, so they were holding off the planning. It was me and a few other people that did reach out, and this year it was completely staff-driven. Even the award that was picked was staff-driven. So I just urge the women of the community to come together and help organize this event and demand that it's community-driven. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Coco Lachine. I'm the new chair of the Transgender Advisory Board of the City of West Hollywood. So I really want to thank the city for putting this on and CSW for including us in the event. Something a couple of years ago, and I don't quite remember how many years we did that. I'm sure Rodney would know. LA Pride named it as TLGB Pride. And I know it's hard to pronounce. However, that was a big step. That was a pioneering step in the country, because we've always just called it LGBT Pride. But I believe it was just last year, Scott? 2 years. We had that, and for some reason it went away. So I'd like you guys to consider bringing it back, because it sends a strong message to the rest of the country. West Hollywood has always been a pioneer in doing stuff that no one else does, so this is a good thing, and we'd like you to consider bringing them back. One of my little concerns during the Friday night event was just simply, and this is an easy solution, that as you walk in and you ask a volunteer where the trans stage is, no one seems to know. So just a feedback to you guys that if you can, so that they're directed to the right place. And the last thing is that, again, I'd like to commend you guys, CSW, that you have a transgender member on your board. I think Karina is the only one right now. And so, thank you for doing that. And as such, also, the city has the Transgender Advisory Board, and we would always like to offer our help, our services, on a non-board basis to just, share with you our ideas and our help. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. All right. We're going to move forward and invite your feedback on 2 other events. So if you would, indulge me, we're going to take a look at the youth dance. If you would weigh in on your thoughts about the youth dance. fantastic. Just know, for those of you weighing in, that it's one of your favorites, that I'm going to ask you to come forward, because the vast majority of people didn't attend it. So we would really want to hear your feedback around what made that a great event for you. So anyone want to comment on the youth dance?
Before we do, I just want to ask if we don't focus too much on these numbers,
Oh, yes, we,
it's not working.
absolutely, we get it. This isn't about statistical numbers, just give you a sense of how people are feeling in the room. Any commentary on the youth dance? No? Okay, the second event I want you to weigh in on relates to the main stage, if you would. Very good. 1,000, 2,000, 1,004. Okay, the floor is now open. Any comments folks want to make concerning the main stage event? That would be across the nights, yes. Okay, wonderful. Share your name and share the events you attended.
Hi, my name's Jeff Consoletti. I'm a resident of Los Angeles. My business is based here in West Hollywood. I'm Christopher Street West's producer. I feel like, kind of for both, no one got up really for either, so I felt like, as the event producer, I probably should stand by some of the work that we do. To comment on the youth dance. The youth dance was a board-driven partnership that came to be in partnership with the LA LGBT Center. It was its first year program. I know the folks from the center that helped to bring that to the table and sort of coordinate nearly about 250 youth that came out to that event. We're very pleased. It was free. They had their own entrance. They had their own programming on one of our stages that was sort of brought to life in a full capacity. At no additional cost to the center or to the youth. They had free food and beverages that were provided to them, obviously non-alcoholic. It was open to youth minorities, LGBT youth coming from sort of a struggling background that I thought they came together and really enjoyed that. It was kind of a nice addition to what CSW and the community and the city put together as far as our cumulative free Friday programming. As far as the main stage goes, Councilmember D'Amico hit on this. I've been involved with CSW for 7 years. Kind of crazy when I think about my tenure and where it's came from. I started as a volunteer because I felt like I wanted to get involved with my community. And specifically my community's pride. I'm sort of a take charge type of guy, for those of you that know me. So my volunteerism sort of turned into ways that I could create. I just started my business and creatively had turned into ways that I could help assist CSW and where I thought they had some, where I thought I could just add some difference. So that came from an event background. I started working on events with them. My business partner in New York is a talent booker. After a couple of years, we sort of moved into the entertainment talent booking proponent or portion of this event. And as you've seen, some pretty noteworthy talent that's been coming to this show since 2012, kind of across all of our stages, not just specific to the main stage. That's really come from about a 10 to 12 month period of conscientious effort and because of a background in producing events, not just Pride related, but many sort of public facing events that we work on. From a main stage perspective, this year definitely had more of a focus on producing a show that was LGBT friendly, more artists than ever before from a global sort of national standpoint come from LGBT roots than ever before. So that's what we were looking at. That was direction that I sort of get from my client, CSW, and what we use to piece together how it comes together. Because of basic staffing, in previous years there was an open application process for the main stage specifically. That process was open to our support stages, but our main stage, like, I just don't have the bandwidth to sort of check out the 300 plus or more applications that come in. So we turned to a professional service that I use called Reverb Nation, which staffs shows like this across the country that I use on several of my other shows. So that's how you were able to get in. Several of our artists were LA based and were local and were selected from that. Others were not. And others were sort of like, we want Shamir. We sort of targeted Shamir. He's a sort of non-gender conforming artist that's on the cusp, and we were looking at new innovative acts to come to this show and to make a difference in ways that are impactful, specific to West Hollywood. One last thought, and I'll let you go. But my approach as a producer specific to this show is I don't want to copy any other Pride. Whatever New York is doing or San Francisco is doing or Long Beach is doing or San Diego or whatever, like especially when it comes to our talent or what we're doing on our stages, my group has a very direct approach to making sure we are making CSW and our host cities stand out among what's happening nationally. So whether or not that's happening from a community standpoint, I don't know. That's what you guys are doing. But from a production standpoint, from our artist standpoint, from what programming we're bringing to the table, that's really what I look to do each year. And the team that works with me, some of you are out there who've worked with me in over previous years past, hope you could say the same thing. But certainly the board has kind of been there to help guide that discussion and has an equal voice in wanting to be a leader among LGBT events nationally. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So to expedite things, yes.
I would like to say something because we can sit here the whole night and talk about planning for next year and
Yes.
Thank you, Lauren. We can sit here and talk about planning for next year and how the content is going to be, but we're not dealing with the basic problem. And I think I need an answer, and I think many of the people here need an answer. I want to know how the CS board is going to work together. I want to know, is the board going to have votes? Is the leadership the ones that will decide and then tell the board what's going to happen? Until we hear from the board and what they're going to do to correct the non-function that went on for a year, all of this stuff we're doing now is useless with this board. So that's what I would like to see settled tonight.
Okay, I'd like to acknowledge your comment.
I'm not done.
Thank you. I really do. I want to acknowledge you bringing forward that comment, and I can clearly hear and see it's of importance and it resonates. Unfortunately, this is not the meeting for that.
When is the meeting for that?
That is not, well, I'll let the mayor speak to this, but I don't think that this forum has been committed to for that purpose.
Then why didn't the city ask the residents, ask people who are here and are quiet because they're dissatisfied what happened? We need to know what happened and is it going to change? And if it's not going to change, then we need a new board.
The forum tonight is to talk about the event itself and what you liked about it and what you didn't like about it and suggestions. And that's what the forum is for tonight. And then the next city forum will be about the Pride of the Future. What CSW does as an organization, they are a separate organization from the city. So this is a city event, this is a city forum to discuss, again, what you liked about the event, what you didn't like about the event, how we can improve the event, and what we expect the event to look like in the future. CSW will talk, we are actually going to have a question and answer for CSW a little bit later in the program, and that's when the question will be appropriate.
Why can't we move that up? Because that seems to be what this audience is here for.
Well, I think that people are here for all different reasons, and we will get to that later in the event. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And my commitment to you is we will expedite this. This isn't just about using time for time's sake. So we're going to expedite the feedback process around the content of the festival. Some folks are here around neighborhood impact as well. We want to make sure there's adequate time for that. And as well, CSW has some time reserved so we can get to all of these matters. So let me do just what I'm saying with that. We're going to move forward and invite your feedback for all of the remaining aspects of content. So grab your thing, your device, and let's go. Let's roll with it. On the Latin main stage, weigh in concerning that event or those events. Very good. Take another 5 seconds to get it committed. And I don't want to deprive anybody of a voice. If you want to say something, whether why you liked it or if you had a concern about it, just flag and we'll know you want to speak. Does anyone want to speak on this event? All right, I'm moving to the next event, which was the Sizzle area. What was your experience of this area? Very good. 5 seconds. Get your final weigh in. Excellent. Any comments on this area? Come forward, please. Don't go far.
Hi, my name is Robert Gamboa, and I'm one of the organizers of Sizzle, along here with Mike Rizzo. I can only speak on Sizzle because it's really the only part I get to visit at Pride, as we spend a lot of time trying to put it together. I think I, for one, am appreciative of CSW on how they have helped us try to organize Sizzle. In fact, over the years, starting from Bill's Cafe and how it evolved from Bill's Cafe to Recovery Road to Sizzle, they have been very responsive to what we've needed to do and what we've wanted to see happen as far as music, as far as entertainment, as far as games. What the future of Sizzle looks like, I don't know, because I believe there's space limitations and whatnot. So at least historically speaking, we've had a pretty good experience from it, and I never usually get to venture out too far from Sizzle. The community's response, I know there's a lot of people that did not attend, apparently, at least from this group here. But I can tell you that the response that we get from the community is that they're very appreciative of this attraction, or activation, I believe is what it's called. And I know that because people tell me that they would not have been able to experience Pride without knowing that there was a safer place to attend, or that there were people that they could attend this event with. And this is why we do this whole event. That's why we want to produce Sizzle. So I, for one, am appreciative of this.
Wonderful, thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Rizzo. I work for the Los Angeles LGBT Center, and I manage the addiction program there. We're one of the sponsors of the Sizzle Space, and it's probably one of the most exciting things that I get to participate in every year. A few years ago, the sober area was usually tucked away in the corner in a quiet space, and it sort of sent the message of that if you're in recovery, I'm so sorry you can't enjoy Pride, you have to go over here, right? But a couple of years ago, we met with Steve Genzel, and we came up with a really exciting concept to celebrate sobriety as opposed to putting it in the corner, and thus Sizzle was born. CSW has been amazing in helping us develop the Sizzle area. Jeff has been amazing with providing a lot of little extras that really make the area much more exciting. This year was a little challenging because we usually start planning 6 months out from the event, and we had reached out to CSW and we got a message that said, oh, we're not ready yet. And by the time they were ready, it was very late in the season for us to really get some momentum going and so on. Communication was difficult. We communicated with Jeff a lot, but any other parties in regards to marketing and so on. I think volunteers we had a lot of strong communication with, but we couldn't get a hold of marketing people. We couldn't get a hold of other people that were really important to helping us develop it. And although we had a very successful event, there were key components that we felt that were missing. We don't know what next year's going to look like. We're a little concerned about that. We think it's an important part of Pride. The sober community is often neglected and looked over, but for the last 3 years we've had a really significant space, and we'd like to continue to do that. And we feel it's vital to being inclusive to all people that attend Pride. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. I'm sorry. Please go for it. Didn't see you.
My name is Lee Walkup, and I'm a resident of West Hollywood. I'm chair of the senior board. I am a teetotaler by choice. I look forward to Pride every year because I know I can go volunteer at Sizzle, and I do. And I think that it's so important because to me, Pride is not getting drunk, doing drugs, listening to overbearing music that drowns out my thought process. To me, Pride is being prideful of being an LGBT person. That's why I volunteer for Pride, for Sizzle. That's why I look forward to it every year, and I've lived here 23 years. I cannot imagine a Pride celebration that celebrates LGBT Pride without a sober area. To me, that is the most important reason that I choose to attend. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we are nearing the closure of this content piece. The booths, if you have weighed in, I see that. Anybody want to comment on the booths? Very good.
Not really a comment on the booths, but a question. I'm noticing that most of these are the did not. May I ask how many people here actually did enter the festival this year?
Yeah, that was our first question, so the vast majority of people.
And how many did not? Okay. And yet we're still here. And that shows how important, even for those that have not entered the festival, how important this is for us to continue focusing on that word pride.
Absolutely. Very well said. Okay, now, we want to... The nonprofit section we can take right now with the booths.
So, hi, my name's Frankie again. So with the booths, I actually will be honest, I only attended Friday because it was the only event that had the trans component and a lesbian and queer component. When I was walking down the booths, there was like it was very visible that most of the people that were in the booths were not nonprofits. It was mainly organizations that were trying to sell me stuff or give me stuff away, like corporate people in the booths. There wasn't your typical Log Cabin Republican booth. There wasn't your Hug a Mormon booth. There wasn't the things that I actually look forward to when I'm at Pride that I rarely get to see. So it would just I'm just kind of wondering like what direction the booths went into this year, because it was like a visible change from last year. Thanks.
Okay, wonderful. Nonprofits? Yes.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jamie Baker. I'm from Being Alive, and I'm the program manager. I have a short prepared statement that I worked on with my executive director who couldn't be here this evening. First, language is the basis of culture, and changing language changes culture. Adding the word music changed the culture of the festival and made many of us a little less proud of the LA Pride Festival. We learned all too tragically that there is still a strong need for a Pride Festival to show community and solidarity and acceptance. Next, nonprofits such as Being Alive and CSW are trustees of the community, entrusted to do what is right and best for the community above all. We are community partners who need to work together to meet the needs of our stakeholders, the community. When making changes to the community, we need to get feedback from the community first. Third, as a community partner of the event, we expect to be treated professionally. We should not be yelled at, threatened with sanctions, or even in our case, called a bitch for misunderstanding last-minute instructions. Language sets culture, and culture is cultivated from the top down. Being told future participation and security deposits were at risk for opening 1 minute late because key volunteers were held at the entrance seems a little excessive. Nonprofits are vital to the health and wellness of our brothers and sisters in the community. We should not be placed outside the festival or in nonprofit row where doing effective outreach became like a feeding frenzy on those walking down the street because we were all vying for the same people at the same time. On a financial note, as a West Hollywood funded nonprofit attending an event supported and partially funded by the city, by city dollars and fee waivers, it seems like double dipping to ask for city funds from a city funded organization who's already receiving $500,000 in support. Governance of nonprofits by the well-meaning people on the boards is often a thankless job. However, it is the duty of board members to know their fiduciary requirements of the job, including conflicts of interest, compensation review, and whistleblower policies. Moreover, it seems that IRS rules for conflict of interest are being ignored when board members are staff of the event company being used. At the very least, it should raise a red flag. Finally, Long Beach Pride is able to offer community grants and financial scholarships to LGBT students. I'm not aware of any ways that CSW is giving back to the community. Are you? Thank you.
Hey all, my name is Josh. I just wanted to briefly talk about the booths aspect that was previously mentioned. I was just at San Diego Pride this weekend. Is this better?
Yeah.
Thanks. So I was at San Diego Pride this weekend, and it was a noticeable difference between San Diego Pride and LA Pride about how many of the booths were community organizations, community businesses, nonprofits, that sort of thing. When I was walking around in LA Pride, it looked like I was watching, the Super Bowl of commercials in terms of all the different corporate sponsors that were there. And it gave me the impression that LA Pride was more about the corporate sponsors than it was about the community organizations. So my personal thoughts. Thank you.
Peter.
Good evening. My name is Peter Cruz. I'm with APAIT. I want to speak to some of the issues that led to us taking a stand and pushing to boycott this year's Pride. I think the main issue here is communication. CSW, the board, made some decisions without communicating with the community. And when the community reached out to you, when we at APAIT reached out to you at one of your board meetings to communicate with you the concerns that we had with the changes that you decided, we got the impression that there was no flexibility and there was no negotiation. What was communicated to us was that the decision has been made and that's final, and there's no more additional changes that can be made. And so we made the decision to proceed with the boycott and really opened a can of worms and the controversy, brought light to the controversy. And so it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone how important Pride is to the community. I have been with APAIT since 2003, and we have been involved with LA Pride every single year. And it is a very important event for us as an organization. And I think every nonprofit here can speak to how important Pride is. Okay, so any notion that the community doesn't care about Pride or is not invested in Pride is a serious misunderstanding and a serious disconnect between the CSW Board of Directors and the community at large. I think with the booths, the exhibitors, that's another issue. We were asking, community organizations were asking the board for months to give us clarity in terms of how many organizations will be allowed into the festival. And for months, for weeks, we weren't getting a clear answer. It was Jeff Consoletti in one of the meetings where we finally got a clear answer that there were gonna be 50 booths and the final number wasn't gonna be the final count wasn't gonna be finalized until the walkthrough with the fire marshals. Had we been told that weeks ago, we would have understood. We understand that there's a lot of moving parts and it's complicated to put on an event as big as LA Pride. And we appreciate the work that you do. But I think in order for this to be a true community event, decisions can't happen unilaterally. There has to be communication between your board and the community early on. The mayor said, we should be involved before April. I don't think that's possible because when I reached out to Chris and we went to your board meeting in April to discuss some of the concerns, you said that decisions hadn't even been made yet at that time. So how can we as a community be involved when it seems like the board, we're not even aware of the timeline of when decisions are made and how they're made. So I think in order for us to ensure that the community is truly invested and involved and supportive of the decisions that you make, I implore you to please communicate with us as frequently and as honestly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Lee Walkup again, and I am a resident of West Hollywood. I am also a member of the steering committee for Stonewall Democratic Club. That's the board for Stonewall Democrats. We had a long and deliberative decision to make in regard to Stonewall Democrats' participation in Pride. We chose to participate only in the parade. We think we do have an important message to put out to the public in regard to the election that's going to occur in November. We thought, we don't know that we're going to get an opportunity to convey that message in the festival. We certainly didn't feel invited in terms of participating in the festival. We mounted what we thought was an excellent effort in the parade. I think we reached a great number of people, and I think we did our job. If we presumably participate in future events, we will think long and hard as to how we can best convey the message of Stonewall Democrats to the LGBT community and the greater Los Angeles area. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So this is the portion we're concluding for hearing from our nonprofits. I now want to open it up to neighborhood impacts. And so if, by show of hands, how many of you are residents in West Hollywood? This is neighborhood impact. And then there's a section that comes after that. Okay, nonprofit. You can be our last speaker on nonprofit. Those of you who'd like to speak concerning neighborhood impact, would you flag your hand? I want to make sure we have a chance to, and if the staff could help, can you give out number cards to the folks who have their hands up so we can get them in the queue? All right, for our nonprofits, if you would speak. Mhm.
My name is Brad Kiesler. I'm treasurer of Project Rainbow. I'm not speaking for my whole group. I don't know, some of them might be here, but it's a gay senior group. We meet at Plummer Park, and we've been in existence since 1981. This year we were, well, in the parade, for instance, and next year we may not be able to be in the parade because the expense is just more than our club can afford. So I think in that respect, nonprofits should be either free to be in the parade or very minimal cost. And inside the festival grounds, haven't gone myself in several years, I suppose, off and on, maybe once. Oh yes, last year I did go one day, I think. But I would also say that I've also noticed a lack of nonprofit booths and booths directed to, all the things that brought about the reason for gay pride in the first place. I think one year there was another issue was our gay history should be somewhere very visible so the young people can see where we came from and the gay rights that we've accomplished so much. But we have a long way to go, especially we live in paradise here, sort of, relatively, compared to other areas of the world, what else? I'm sorry. Things I liked. I liked the water slide. I think I was one of the only ones that went down it in my age. Many years ago, I liked the classical music drifting over the grounds in an early morning when not many people were attending yet and they didn't have somebody screaming on the stage. I liked when it was on Cherokee, I think they had an octopus. Does anybody else remember that? Okay. That was in Hollywood. Okay. Now, I would like to see less divas and more culture. For instance, why isn't the Gay Men's Chorus performing at least sometime? Why? Where is the Gay Swing Band? Where are some of the groups that have performed at Summer Sounds during the summer or the Winter Sounds? And I think one year, if I'm not mistaken, I saw a gay version of Pirates of Penzance here, probably right in this auditorium, a gay version. It was wonderful. Where is all of that is part of our community? We're more than just, the current, latest diva, popular money-making performers. So please listen to us, board, and if not, resign.
Thank you. All right, we are transitioning, I believe, to neighborhood impact.
My name is Richard Giesbredt, and I've been coming to the Pride Festival, the Pride Festival and Parade, 30 years ago.
Pardon me for just a second. Gentlemen, please. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And fortunately, I was able to finally move into West Hollywood about 20 years ago, and very happy that I did. And now I'm president of a neighborhood association, West Hollywood West Residents Association, which is comprised by about 850 homes in the area just south of this, which is very seriously impacted by the Pride events, by Halloween, and just general traffic. So I'd like to express two aspects of the comments I've heard from people, residents in our neighborhood. And one aspect is functional, and the other aspect is talking about the larger picture. The obvious problems that disturb a lot of people and really annoy them are the usual traffic tie-ups, for the entire weekend. The litter is, unevenly and widely distributed throughout the neighborhood. Driveways are blocked. There's no parking for residents or guests for 3 days. It's free parking for the whole world, people complain. There's a lot of complaints about the noise disturbance, especially the disturbance that happens very late at night. People can be actually inside their houses and still hear the music from the festival. And for some, that's really tiring after 3 days of all this disturbance. They feel it's an unfair burden in their neighborhood, and increasingly so in the last few years. But in the same breath, a lot of these people talk about the larger picture, and they recognize the value of Pride and why they've moved into West Hollywood. And they know the Pride event is no longer what it was. And 30 years ago, it was essentially a civil rights demonstration. But the times have changed, but the event has not so much. The city is gentrifying. Once gays and lesbians dominated the neighborhoods, and now there's more straight families moving in. There's a lot of babies in our neighborhood. A lot of people note that both council and CSW have not arrived at a satisfactory resolve to a lot of the continuing questions about the Pride event. And separately, there's been a lot of concern about Boys Town and the waning of Boys Town by the gays and lesbians in our area. And it's been commented by council members during the council sessions. And it's a genuine concern of a lot of people, a lot of gays and lesbians in our neighborhood. And this leads them to say that, perhaps it's time for some serious rethinking about the Pride Parade and its evolution into a musical festival, and to think more deeply about how the LGBT community can be supported and how West Hollywood can serve as a place where greater sensitivity for that community can be encouraged, engendered in some respect or another. People talk about wild ideas like, why don't we have an institute? Or why don't we have a conference? Or why doesn't the city support some other cultural means to broaden the appeal of this and to make West Hollywood a beacon for the concerns of the lesbian and gay and bisexual and transgendered community? Why can't we bring more of the straight and the straight flexible people into this community and participate and discuss or just be exposed to our core LGBT community? So I thank you for your time.
Thank you. We have two more speakers. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Manny Rodriguez, and I'm a resident of West Hollywood. I live about 3 blocks away from the epicenter of the festival. And I concur with Richard Giesbrecht. I think it's a lot that the festival is really, the only relevance to the gay liberation movement, I think, is the parade. Everything else really is a show. It could be anything else. It could be just a music festival. Why does it have to basically, in my opinion, corrupt the gay liberation movement by having it be really so commercial and so unfocused? That said, in my neighborhood, where we have to park 400 cars minimally. Our permanent parking is lifted. People that live in duplexes, which don't have any parking anyway, have no place to park. We're overrun by the obligation to park gay pride. And I think because of the way it's going and the direction that it's taking really away from its original intent, why should we continue as a neighborhood to have that burden? I don't think we should. We've built parking lots. There's other ways to get to the festival. It's frankly too big. And our residents are unfairly inconvenienced by having to be the de facto parking lot for this music festival. So I hope that as we move forward, we can really reevaluate whether it should continue to be our burden as a neighborhood. And lastly, I just want to say, the festival producer mentioned that he's not going to look at the successes of other festivals. That's the problem. You should be looking at the successes of other festivals, because this has not been very successful. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Coco again. I'm a resident of West Hollywood. As a resident, my main concern is, once a year, I live about 3 blocks away, and once a year we put up with the noise and the music, and that's okay. The only request I have is that if you can just tone down that bass. For some of us older people, our heart just keeps beating at home 4 blocks away, okay? I'm basically here to also to talk about being a business operator. My business, as Larry also, is on the block on Santa Monica between San Vicente and Larrabee. This is the first time we have moved to this side of the street. We were in the past on the south side. The trash is horrendous on Saturday night, Sunday morning. So we do our little bit and try to clean up the trash, but Sunday morning it was so horrendous. So if the city, whoever, if you can help us, it just looks awful for our city, for our guests into the city to see the amount of trash. The other thing that I'm really, really concerned about is the amount of people on the sidewalk. So this may be a sheriff situation that we can minimize, and I don't know whether it's legal or not, minimize the unlicensed vendors, those hot dog carts and the carts that sells Pride stuff. The sidewalk is so congested already, and they were taking up space in the sidewalk. And as you know, here in West Hollywood, we have a lot of bars and restaurants with extended patios. So that already cut down on the sidewalk. We cannot move, especially on our block. So if there's a way that we can ask the city, the sheriff, to try to minimize those vendors, because they would not move and they were rude. And then when they see the cops coming, they try to run. It's dangerous to the pedestrians. So that is something that we had to go through, and I'm sure for the residents as well. I know that my store had an alarm problem, went off on Saturday night at like 1:30. I couldn't get through that block to the store. It was really that difficult. So here's a suggestion. If we can close the street down because the concentration of the people that at night, on Saturday night, it's in those few blocks, maybe we could close down so that people can walk on the street safely and get around. Thank you.
Thank you. One last person, and then following you, we're going to carve out this time, provide time for CSW to be able to come forward. Go. Oh, ticket prices, I'm sorry, we'll get to that.
Hello, my name is Joseph Ariano. I live in West Hollywood, Norton and Crescent Heights. I wanted to speak something a little bit on neighborhood impact, but in a different sense. I'm in fact going to be 29 years old. I moved to West Hollywood about 4 years ago, and I'm with my partner. One of the things that were such an inclusiveness that Pride had was different cultures and different customs coming together to show what equality is all about. I didn't get a chance to speak at the last Chamber of Commerce meeting. I was actually got there late and wasn't able to make any comments. But one of the things that I wanted to discuss was the email that was sent out that I never got to speak a word about. And it does include neighborhood impact. I don't want to beat off the right topic. I'm in fact a millennial. My generation is in fact technology oriented, and we move very quickly. The thing that pained me when I read that email was the fact that the past has been sort of lost. I have grown up knowing many people who have been older than me, and they have spoken about AIDS, and they've spoken about the epidemic that took so many lives and so many people, and along with their loved ones. I guess in a sense I was very lucky to hear these stories. And so for Neighborhood Impact, I felt a lot of people coming to me because I volunteered for Pride the last 3 years, discussing everything that went wrong or everything that wasn't being done for nonprofits and for individuals trying to get a place in LA Pride. And it frightened me a little bit. I believe in order to pursue forward, we must look to the past to lay down the future. It is not something to be taken lightly, and it is a very hard path to navigate. And I want to just commend you guys, because Christopher Street West is a hard thing to do. LA Pride is a very hard event. I've worked it. I have seen so many things that you have to do, and it's very taxing. And I give you tremendous respect for that. But one of the things that I'm afraid that I cannot allow is for somebody to peg the reason for changing an organization to be a music festival is because on the part of a generation of the millennials. The millennials, as a matter of fact, we embrace the past. We are trying to make the future better. We are trying to set things and set them in stone for the generation after us to live on. And it really pained me to hear that our past, gay, lesbian, transgender, all of the above, even straight, was disregarded. And that is not right. And then everything with the Music Pride Festival, I get you were trying to do something new. I understand it. Change is always hard and change is always embraced, but whenever you do it, you must do it with the respect of others and the respect of the community and take into account the unity that is Pride. Thank you.
So we skip item E, which is gender inclusiveness, but it also applies to the ticket prices. So, because you say we're going to go to the board after that. So anyways, my name is Byron Jose. I'm here as a concerned community member and as someone that was helping Bambi Salcedo kind of trying to get ways to get this Pride event to be more inclusive and more thoughtful and less oppressive for different communities. So unfortunately, she couldn't be here today, and the people that I'm with don't really speak English, and I know that's something that service does not offer at this meeting right now, so I don't want to speak on behalf of otras Latino women, but I will speak as an extension of what Bambi asked to relay. So I will help her put together the action because both at the CSW board meetings and at the City Hall meetings and building up towards the event, we're really open, and we're very, there wasn't a lot coming out of them, right? So then we decided to just, the day of, kind of like protest, take the spirit of Pride, the reason why Pride was born and started, and demand things, like protest, which is what Pride is, and has always been. So that day, we had a student action. I was there helping them out. We were there, Bambi was speaking, trying to get some point across, trying to deliver some key demands for CSW board. Sam Borelli came up to us and just said, you know what, just lead the march, just go. Lead the parade, just go. So we did. I tried to inquire about the commanding officer from the sheriffs that day, and then I tried to get more clear directions from anyone from CSW who was organizing the parade as to what that would entail, leading the parade would entail, to no avail, of course. So we did, and then, the sheriffs kept on shoving people, pushing us forward, and then members from the National Lawyers Guild were there, legal observers, and they put together a report, which I believe the city has received copies of, and it's also online. So then all of a sudden there's a riot squad, right? So that's not really safe, and that's not really accessible, and that's not really inclusive, and that is very, very oppressive. And where people have constantly faced police violence and police attack, that is very like triggering, and it will like mess up your head to see riot police coming for you. The streets were closed. We were doing a peaceful action. We were told to lead the parade. So somewhere along those lines, the communication failed, and it's not the first time that communication has failed. It failed building up towards the event. It failed in your interactions with the other nonprofits, and it failed the day of. So the city needs to open up an inquiry to figure out who's responsible for that. Was it the sheriff? Was it CSW? Who's not communicating, and why is that happening? If we really are talking about making the event safe and inclusive and accessible to everyone. With that being said, there were a lot of different set of demands for that action. That day, something happened that morning in Orlando, so we were trying to be very conscious and considerate. So we were trying not to be confrontational. We were trying to work and collaborate, which is why I asked numerous times from event organizers. I asked the different sheriff officers, who's your commanding officer, and no one ever gave us any answers. So that's something that the city needs to consider, because obviously the CSW board keeps on saying that they're not here, they're just here to listen, and this is not the space. But it hasn't been the space since all this whole ordeal started. The last thing was, one of the main requests the day of is for the event to be free for young people, because Pride, when I was younger, 8 years ago, it was never safe for young people. It's still not safe for them. But the very least that you can do is give them a small space where they can enjoy themselves, and a way to avail and to make up for all the stuff that young people have to face with, the trans community and people of color in LA. It doesn't make sense for an event to be that expensive when your talent is not that great. So obviously you're doing something wrong, and if you can't do it right, then just move on. It's okay to call it quits. No one will hold that against you. Anyway, so my point being, I would like to beseech the city to take more of a active role in holding CSW accountable, because they can't seem to hold themselves accountable, especially in the way of making it safe for everyone in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're transitioning to ticket prices.
Thank you, sir. You had a lot to say. Next time, slow down a little bit, though. Hi, my name is Mark Mallon. I am not a resident of the city of West Hollywood because I can't afford it. Ticket prices this year were so outrageous that in no way, shape, or form did I even consider coming to the event. I remember when this area was an unwanted piece of land that the city of Beverly Hills did not want and the city of Los Angeles did not want. It was an unincorporated, dusty section of Los Angeles County. And a group of people moved out here to make it a safe place for themselves, to find someplace in this Los Angeles County where they would not be constantly harassed by the Los Angeles Police Department for being gay and lesbian. Unfortunately, to the gentleman who lives here who worries about gentrification, gentrification is not a new problem for the gay community, because we're more than happy to sell our properties to the highest bidder, and we don't care whether or not they're gay or lesbian. We destroy our own communities through greed. It is a sad reality. These problems that CSW is facing today, these are not new problems. These are problems that have existed for this community for a very, very, very long time. And the fact that we still don't know how to fix them is very, very disappointing. There was a time when going to Pride Parade meant that I would be completely and without question inundated by nonprofits begging me to volunteer my time, donate my money, do whatever I could to support their cause. I remember when the people lying down in the streets of Santa Monica were members of ACT UP, not the religious right come to screw with us. The fact is that LA Pride should be a festival that I walk into to celebrate being an LGBT person, not to look at booth after booth after booth of people wanting to celebrate my disposable income. Please stop making the corporate sponsorship the most important thing and make it a celebration. If you want to do a music festival at another time. The city of Sydney, Australia has Pride. 6 months later, they have a huge party to raise money so that their Pride event can be relatively free. Do that. But don't make Pride about having to fork over a huge sum of money and then walk into a festival where there's nothing to be prideful of. The fact of the matter is that the bifurcation of this area is happening. There's only two kinds of people that will be living in this area very shortly. Those who don't make enough money and therefore qualify for subsidized housing, and those who make a whole lot of money. While the middle class, the rest of us, are forced to come in from Palmdale, Lancaster, Riverside, San Bernardino, etc. So we have to find ways to make Pride something that's not about drinking, because if you have a 1.5 hour train ride to go home that night, you probably shouldn't be drinking much at all.
Okay.
So please think of those things and make Pride about being LGBT. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 3 additional speakers, and I'm going to ask if you could be laser focused on ticket prices and that impact.
Well, this is going to seem like it's a little out there, but trust me, I'm in the same topic. My name is Don Mike. I am part of, I'm going to move this up, I can't take this. My name is Don Mike. I am part of the leather community. We are a group that was, until very late in the process, shut out of Pride, along with the trans community and a lot of other organizations and people. It amazes me that in a time when we are still fighting for our civil rights, there are those of us who actually had to fight for a position in this year's Pride. Also, I want to share a quick little story. About 10 years ago, I was marching in the Pride Parade, and I was having a really crappy day, and I was thinking to myself, why are we here? Why does this matter? Does anybody really care? And I looked up on the Avatar Float, another leather organization, and my friend Alexei Romanoff, a man who was later given a position of Pride at the Pride Festival, an honor, thank you. He was dancing his little 65-year-old heart out. And it hit me. He's dancing because he remembers a time when you couldn't. That's what this is supposed to be about. This year, that would not have happened because so many organizations couldn't afford to be in the parade because of the price increase. And so many young people that I spoke to and people of various incomes couldn't even afford a ticket at Pride because of the price increase. We have to ask ourselves, is this what Pride is about? Is it about the money or is it about the people? I'd like to see this organization go back to being about the people. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Eric Gonzalez. I'm a resident here at West Hollywood. I'm also work for Los Angeles Volleyball, local nonprofit. I did a couple comments on the ticket prices. I totally get everything that goes into planning an event. We are also responsible for some here in the city. What I heard a lot of feedback from was the increase in prices, but as you know, me also having produced events, you can kind of see when I saw the festival, it's gorgeous. It looked amazing, the entrance and everything. But what stood out to me is this is why the ticket prices are having to go up, plus the talent. And I asked myself several times, I go, you know, some of the items, were they really necessary? Did we really need these massive LCD screens here and there, the props and everything that should really encourage the board to look at some of those items and say, like, if we were to cut some of that out, or maybe we don't need something as elaborate, that it would address, you know, the need to reduce those ticket prices and not make that a barrier for people to enter. Again, it's gorgeous. I love this space, but that was what I got a lot from my group of people who couldn't go. I myself couldn't go, but it's just something to keep in mind. Also, when we get to the point for the Q&A, if I could really encourage the board to a lot of the items that are being discussed have been the same things that have been come up a lot and over, that when we get to the Q&A part, if we can really just hear what will be different, like the changes that we can see going forward. Right, just encouraging that way happen. Thank you.
Okay.
Larry Block, West Hollywood. The very first question we were asked was who attended the festival, and you saw some people speak who were only there on Friday night. I'm curious, people who were only there Friday night versus that fully attended and paid for the ticket prices, because some of the people who were there out of that number were there because they worked for an organization. How many people were really paying members from the community who went? Ticket prices should be free. They should be free for West Hollywood residents. We contribute a lot. It's not something it's a noble goal to shoot for. It's a base starting point where if we can shoot that West Hollywood residents would be allowed free admission, or at least seniors or those with disabilities. When you look at the festival and you see how many people come from Palmdale and Sherman Oaks and everywhere else, how many people really come from West Hollywood that are paying those ticket prices? And this man from Being Alive, he said it the best out of anybody, or everybody said it great, but he really spoke to the nonprofits and the fees. $500 for a booth, $1,000 for a booth to get into the festival, and we don't do anything. Pride has not done anything to contribute back to the community. They have a nice office in the PDC, they have lots of consultants that make money, but when I was president of Labor Day LA, we raised $100,000 in one weekend on a small party to give through grant process to all the local organizations. And this organization doesn't even have a goal of paying anything back to the community. So at least we can offer the community free ticket prices as a starting baseline to start for next year. And nonprofits should be open to everybody. Nonprofits have to be part of the festival where the entire community can outreach to touch that nonprofit. To stick a nonprofit behind closed doors is ridiculous to only paying members who don't belong in the community. So I think those two goals of opening nonprofits, of ticket prices that are free for West Hollywood residents, and people of seniors and people with disabilities have more accessibility to this festival. That's the most important thing that gives people pride, not to be shut out, because a lot of people are felt excluded from this pride.
Okay, thank you. We're going to thank the speakers. We're shifting, just to give you the sequence as we move into our last phase. We're shifting to a consideration around the concept of inclusiveness. Several of the speakers have referenced that, and we have on our agenda a space to create for people to speak to that. We want to know from you your thoughts around inclusiveness. Is this on ticket prices? Oh, wonderful. Okay. Inclusiveness, if you'd like to have a comment on what that means and how you want to see that represented in the festival. We'll create space from that. Following that conversation, then we are going to have a comment from the mayor, and we're going to move to the Q&A with CSW.
Good evening. My name is Tom Traffolet. I'm a part of the leather community and worked in Erotic City this year, which I haven't seen anything appear in our magic screen up here about yet, so I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to share my experiences as have been requested, and I can say, first of all, thank you to CSW for making space for us this year. We did have to show up and make our voices heard like other groups did, but that's okay. And we were very fortunate that logistically things worked out, that we were in the Plinth Garage, which was an excellent space for us. And in part of the challenge of costs, I produced an event in the corner that we were faced with very high costs for our very small clubs. So I made a coalition of two other groups and used it as a community building, because I think that Pride should be about building community. These are my values. We're either building community or we're not. And the things that, you know, I'm a very mission-driven person. I work in nonprofits in the leather community. And on the positive side, the Erotic City experience was really great for us. We had people 4 to 6 deep at our large 10 by 30 booth. We interacted with people who had never experienced the BDSM leather community before, and all of our volunteers came together and created new bonds between 3 different organizations. So for us, in our world, it was a very positive experience that was affordable. We were very grateful to the Fight magazine for sponsoring the space, and everyone, it was just wonderful. I personally, Erotic City is the only reason that I attend the festival, and the only reason I do. And the reason of that is because of the person who was truly responsible for getting leather into this community, and you might want to make a note of this, is Steve Ganzel. It's not Rodney Scott. It was Steve, and Rodney, I love you, but it was Steve Ganzel's work over the years, and people need to know this, to keep leather in our community. The leather community has withdrawn from CSW at different points in time. By the way we were treated, we're glad to be back and be welcomed and be a continuing part of this organization. But in looking at the process that we went through, I was there on Saturday before, before the festival opened up, and I just went out and walked around, and it was empty. There were no people in there yet. And it's hard to say because we were working together nice, but it was like a dystopian nightmare. I've never seen so much alcohol, places, bars, everywhere. And then once the festival started, I had something I'd never seen before. EMTs standing by with stretchers. And I saw what that was for later. It was for the people, the kids who couldn't hang and who fell down drunk at the festival were picked up and wheeled away. It was like Logan's Run or something. I mean, it just was really despair. The signage was pretty.
Okay.
But that was not it. And the mayor has asked for things that the city can do. Those are my experiences. Overall, pretty good. I would encourage you, as I try to do, not so well on Monday, that your proposal to create an accountability for any nonprofit, not just CSW, but any nonprofit that does business with the city, that receives benefits from the city, be held to a standard of accountability commensurate with what the government of the federal government and the state of California hold as accountable actions for legal operation of a nonprofit. And that did not happen this year. This is part of the problem. And I think that part of what happened is that the core group that made the decisions in CSW, because I know it wasn't the whole board, no, I'm not done.
I don't want you to finish.
I am going to finish my statement, madam.
Bring it.
I will bring it around.
Thank you.
There is an existential crisis that's taken place here. And I think that what happened was the decision-making process by the core of the board just dismissed our passion. This is where this anger has come from, our passions, and not just ours here, but the generations of people who have built this community, have fought for our rights, was dismissed, just out of hand in an effort to make profit, and in an effort to build the reputations of certain individuals who had taken control of this organization. And the city, through its accountability process, which I hope you will develop quickly, can help ameliorate that and bring things back into balance by requiring organizations who do business with the city of West Hollywood to be held to a higher standard of financial disclosure, of sticking to the law, and making it right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank you all. And again, come on, I want to hear you all. I'm just going to ask you, please stay focused, though. This is your comments around inclusiveness. You did bring it back around. I appreciate that. Let's stay focused on the inclusiveness issue.
You're not going to like me, thanks. I really want to talk about ticket prices. Very briefly. As another one of the millennials that this event was apparently targeted to, I just wanted to ask, make a couple brief statements. I had a question that if Pride is targeted to LGBT millennials, a group that includes homeless youth and low-income individuals, why would CSW set the prices too high for the people group they are attempting to appeal to that they can even afford? So that's one question I had. Continuing on that, between the festival price, parking, food, drink prices, how exactly are millennials supposed to afford to even attend the event? I know for myself, I volunteered. I have a job. I'm very happy and privileged to have a job. But even then, I still looked at the price, the total cost of going to Pride, and I said there was no way that I can do it by paying the ticket price. So I was very happy that volunteering was available. If the response to millennials that ask why is the price so high, if the response is that millennials need to learn how to budget to be able to go to the event, I'm not saying that that is, but if that is, then my response would be that CSW needs to learn how to budget the event to make ticket prices affordable for everyone. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mark Kramer. I worked with CSW. I worked with CSW for several years as their art and heritage programmer. And I was brought in by Jeff Consoletti in 2013 after a call from the community to include more arts and culture at a meeting similar to this. And so I did my best to do that. Over 3 years, I did Momentum, Riot 1, and Riot 2, which were all interactive art installation and performance spaces. I've worked with several of you in the room and on the board, and I also worked with the leather community to do Sizzle and also the sober community. Speaking about exclusivity, I just want to preface what I'm going to say by none of this and all of our comments shouldn't be coming from anger. It's just that we're here. We all want the same thing. We want our community to be represented and to be represented fairly. This is an incredible event. I decided this year to step down and to not be a part of the arts and culture community after a specific conversation with Chris and Craig. And since then, I've done my best to really talk to community members, to community leaders, board members who, I've trust and work with. And the general consensus is that there's, the heart of the community is missing from this event. Chris and Craig and I met in January, which was prior to the April community meeting where they'd be presenting the changes and, supposedly opening it up to the community. And Chris, you said something that really struck me that was the reason that I stepped down. And you told me very succinctly that, this would be moving into a music festival space, that you wanted to be competing with Coachella and with FYE Music Festival. That's what the space that this was going to be. This is very pertinent, I promise. You then told me that there was a new regime in town, and for better or worse, things were going to change, whether people liked it or not. And then you said that pride can't be everything for everybody. And I guess that's my biggest question. That was what drove me away from this event, because my question is then, who is this event for, if it's not for everybody? We've created a really large machine, and it's an amazing event. People come to it. It's inaccessible to a lot of people. There's always conversations about who's being included, how are we including the community. I understand from a firsthand perspective that inclusion demands participation from the groups who want to be included. And I know that that's something that's a real struggle, because sometimes people don't step up and then they like to complain afterwards that, hey, nobody was there from my family. Sorry, we have to do more than check off the boxes of diversity and inclusion for the sake of diversity and inclusion. The media campaign this year was really beautiful. It was well shot. Lots of my friends were in it, people who are my age. And my biggest comment there is that, well, there were, gender and sexual identity and, those people represented. There wasn't an age representation. And the context of which we were meeting these people was in a studio being glammed up and shot, as celebrities. And this is LA Pride. We're one of, the largest pride communities in the world. And if that's the representation that we're putting out there, to me, that doesn't espouse inclusivity. That makes exclusivity.
Great.
And sorry, I just want to say one more thing. The biggest thing for inclusivity, the biggest solution to me is accountability. And, how is the board getting to their positions? And the only suggestion that I'll make is that, we open up, board elections and have everybody, if you're in a position now, then have everybody, make a case for why they're in there, and then have the community, vote on if they should be there or not. And if the community doesn't feel that you're there, then the board changes and these changes will happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have 2 speakers. Is it 2 speakers left? I'm going to ask our 2 speakers to be able to allow them to have their comments, stay focused on inclusion, and then we're going to go to the Q&A.
Hi, everybody. My name is Phil Gaddy, and I actually came for the Thrive Tribes Intimacy workshop tonight. And but I'm really happy I'm here, actually, because this is also one of the topics I was very interested in participating in. there's a lot to be said about inclusion and where we've come in the last 30 years in terms of a community. I'm 54 now, and so I found myself, I've lived through a lot of the history that we all share together. And I've seen remarkable acts of courage and compassion and leadership from all levels and all ages in our community. West Hollywood's kind of unique as opposed to other pride parades and festivals. I'm from New York, and when you go to New York, you're not going to a city that's particularly identified as a gay city. You go to a gay pride event in the city of New York, or even San Francisco, it's the same way. Here, you've got both a pride event that's celebrating the diversity and the sexual orientations that we are a part of, and you have a city that was particularly founded to provide a safe space for people from all walks of life and from all areas, that they can come here and they can feel that they can put down their guard and be accepted and be supported. And one of the problems with commercialization is that it oftentimes takes that away in the quest for glitter and glitz and more fabulousness. It's very easy to lose your soul and lose your heart. My family, my immediate family, is spread out throughout the nation. I don't know about you guys. I'm a member of Being Alive, and we were talking last week in one of my groups. We're older now, and the group that I'm a part of, most of the guys are in their 60s, and we were all lamenting at the fact that we don't necessarily feel that we have family to really feel that we can be intimate with. Pride, according to the Catholics or others, could be seen as a deadly sin. I don't know whether we're sinning or not, but another way of looking at pride is as a lion's pride, which is family. And so whenever I come to these events, I think to myself, you know, I'm coming to the holidays. It's kind of like Thanksgiving or Easter, or, you know, I'm just seeing a million of my family members. And I'm here to celebrate and be with them and feel comfortable and feel accepted and feel a history and listen to disco music that says we are family and has that camaraderie and respect for people who are older and encouraging people who are younger that there's hope and there's encouragement to be yourself. And finally, I'd just like to say the problem I find that I'm running into with inclusiveness is the dilemma that I love men. I appreciate women, but I love men. If I was at a sex party, I would be very comfortable surrounded by a bunch of beautiful men, but I'd be uncomfortable with a few beautiful women being there because I love men. Does that make me discriminatory against women? Maybe, but there's certain times or certain situations where there's a benefit to being exclusive and having a breakup, let's say, an opportunity for women to be all together or men to be all together or transex. We need to acknowledge that that's a part of our lives and there's value in that. All boys schools, there's value in that. But simultaneously,
And if
this
you
event,
could give like that conclusion suggestion, that would be good. What would you like to suggest?
okay, what I would like to suggest is that we focus less on the commercialization and cut some of the fat out of it. I understand that West Hollywood provides police support and provides other support that other events in the city do not. get, someone told me in the tune of $500,000 is contributed by the city for this particular event. It seems to me like, as someone who's put on events, it doesn't need to be as glitzy, but it needs to have heart and soul.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Dan Suhay. I am not a resident of West Hollywood. I've been living in the city since 1997. I am old school fag. I was living in San Francisco in '84 when I was 19. I will keep this brief. First of all, thank you so much for showing up. You knew you were going to be in the firing line. You had an opportunity to say screw this, but you came, so good for you. I think unwittingly, and I don't know if this has ever happened before, I really don't. This is my first time really participating at a community level like this, but you may have unwittingly scratched open something. Take this opportunity, I beg you. I beg you. Take this challenge on. Who are we? I was talking to a 28-year-old, I'm an old school fag. I think I walked in the second AIDS March. I went to the very first Folsom Street Fair. I smelled what we were, what us gay men were, why we fucked. I know that times have changed, but we are something. I have value. Tom has value. Steve has value. That gentleman sitting right there has value. And do you know who else has value? The 21-year-old that is gender fucking like crazy. And we need to find a way to chat. Because I want them to learn about me and I want to learn about them. So what I beg, inclusivity, is that we have more discussion about this. Take this opportunity. If the thing needs to be blown up, blow it up. Who are we? There is nothing wrong with a ghetto. Armenians do it. Filipinos do it. All these ethnic groups do it. There's nothing wrong with a ghetto. I'm a proud gay man. I'm HIV positive for 30 years. I'm only 51. I'm a crystal meth addict, 9 years sober, and I got my doctorate in February 2015. I have something to say, but I want to hear from the kids too, because I have a lot more to learn. If this isn't working, blow it up.
Thank you.
Hello again, Richard Giesbrecht, speaking for myself, not as the president of an organization. It was really dispiriting preparing for this meeting and hearing comments from so many people that were gay and straight, struggling for a reason to even participate in anything related to pride. You know, the most that people would do is probably go up to the parade for an hour. A lot of people left town. They didn't want to be bothered. And I think it's very important that 3,000 members of the West Hollywood city find very little reason to participate. And I think that we as a city need to do more about that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
We're running over, but we are going to keep going. I did want to ask one question. I don't know if you're aware, but the city actually has for 40 days something called One City, One Pride, where we have a lot of screenings of films. We have a lot of art events, a lot of cultural events to celebrate Pride. Were you aware that the city has One City, One Pride, which is 40 days? I just want to see a show of hands. Thank you. And how many of you actually attended at least one event? Okay, thank you. All right, now we're going to move on to a Q&A with CSW, and I'm going to ask Chris Klassen to come up. And I ask everyone to be respectful. Please, if you have questions, make them questions, short, brief. We're here late, we're going to keep going, but I want everyone to have an opportunity to ask their questions. Thank you.
I can acknowledge.
So I want to say just a couple things first. First, I want to thank Mayor Meister for bringing us all in the same room together tonight. And I do really want to thank the mayor and for the sheriffs of West Hollywood for keeping us safe on Parade Sunday. It was an extraordinary morning, and we deserve them a round of applause. And I want to thank all of you for being here. I know it's taking time out of your schedule. And, you know, believe it or not, this organization cares dearly about the community and what your feelings are. And that's why we're here. And we want to work with you, you know, for the next 11 months. It's only July, in making this something that everyone feels included in and is proud of. This year, I know we're running very short, so I want to offer, two things. We had a lot of challenges this year, and I'll just briefly talk about two of them. So we did have a medical tent this year. That took up about 60 feet at the bottom of San Vicente. That is not unique to Pride. That will be at all large West Hollywood events, and that's a West Hollywood city initiative. We also, thankfully, one of the amazing decisions by the board this year was to increase security, and I think we can all agree that was well received, and I was thankful to have that during the weekend. That took up another 40 feet at the top of San Vicente. So what that means is that we lost room for about 50 exhibitor booths. The organization had to make a decision who we could allow to exhibit. And we chose this year to remain consistent with having nonprofits in the festival. So although there were sponsors in the festival, the vast majority, although it may have seemed otherwise, was actually nonprofit booths. And we were, proud to have those nonprofits with us. The other challenge that I'll just, mention briefly is that as a board, we do recognize that we want a free component of this festival, and we did sketch out and try to plan for a free part of this festival, and unfortunately we were unable to make that happen this year, but it is on our radar. It is something that we're working towards. So I do want the community to know that we're sensitive to that, and we do want to give back something that is a free component. So the other thing that I'll say is just that I know we're short on time tonight, and I want to have conversations with all of you, and I know it's not probably possible. My email address is chris@lapride.org. It's very simple. I'm just a volunteer. I don't get paid for this, but I'm happy to answer every one of your questions. Just email me, and I'm happy to, we can meet or have email conversations. Happy to do that. So with that, I'll let the moderator answer as many questions as we have time for.
Larry, can you come up? Because this will not go.
What were the total gross revenues for this Pride, and how's it looking? Did you guys make any money or lose money?
It was a challenging year. I know the businesses in West Hollywood were busy, and security getting into the festival was difficult on Sunday. We are still sort of letting the dust settle, so I don't have a final answer for you. Our attendance was strong because of Friday night, but it was a challenging year, and I think we will probably not have been as successful as we had hoped this year. And that's also part of the reason that we're here, so that we can really try to incorporate more things from the community for 2017.
Can we give him a mic?
Sorry. That's okay. Okay. Dan Moore, City of West Hollywood. Having been a patron of the Stonewall in New York back in the 60s, although I wasn't there the night of the riots, and having participated in the first parade that ended in Central Park in 1970, and also being responsible for the entry of AIDS Project Los Angeles in CSW Pride here in West Hollywood for many years. I come with some experience to the table. And you know, and the other members of the board, and some of you may know, that I've attended a number of the CSW board meetings. At one meeting, well, it was after John Duran at a city council meeting mentioned that there was a great deal of interest in having people step up to the plate and try to become a member of the board. There's a difference between perception and reality, and the perception is that this was a very closed board in terms of making decisions and excluding the community. When I came to the last meeting, I asked specifically what was the process to become a member of the board, and I couldn't get an answer. I was basically told to be sure that I came to August and/or September, as I recall, but there was no clear, definitive process for becoming a board member, and I don't understand why there isn't and why the community doesn't know about this. If we're being asked to participate and we try to, and then we don't know how to do it.
Thank you, Dan. Dan has come to a lot of our meetings, and that the board, you know, we always love more participation, and it is something that we're sensitive to, and what we are working on right now is actually working with our webmaster to get much more information on our website, so that there is more access to the public to know sort of the processes. In general, I would say that we really value involvement from the public. So I would encourage you to continue to come to board meetings, and we'll get you as much information as we can, as quickly as we can. Our elections are in October of every year, and our September meeting is when we nominate. So again, it's chris@lapride.org. If any of you are interested, just send me an email, and let's talk about involvement.
Hello, everyone. My name is Greta Moreno. I'm actually a member of Trans-Latino Coalition. Everybody here talking about different things, and one of the big things you mentioned right now, you guys increase the security, which means we don't mind to be safe on that specifically day. My question is, now you're assuming you was the responsible to make sure the sheriff officers pushing us out of the protesting, or definitely it was somebody else? Because we have been looking for some answers about this. We consider that was kind of a little bit rude, because even when we are part of the movement, we will not come into causing any damages to no one, and not even to hurt anyone. So that's the most important question I have right now, if it was CSW or...
Thank you for asking that. Actually, so Monday night was the first that I had heard of that. And so I don't have answers of what exactly happened. I wasn't there at the time. It's certainly not something we want to have happen at the parade. And so on behalf of the organization, I would love to apologize for whatever could have happened. I know that the city is looking into that. And I'm as interested as you are to find out kind of what actually happened. Because I actually don't know yet. If this one's long, or this one's longer.
Do you want to take this one in?
Hello. God, you're tall. I'm fine. Okay. Ivy Bottini, West Hollywood, activist over 50 years. I was sitting there listening to one of the gentlemen speak about being an old fag. And I guess I'm an old dyke. And and he talked a lot about sex, and I'm telling you, I'm going to be 90 in a couple of weeks, and I've seen enough asses in my time. You know, I'm tired of looking at asses, so anyway, I just want to say one thing, and then I have a question. For the first time in any festival that I know of, and I've been going since '72, when I stepped off a curb on Hollywood Boulevard and joined a march, I saw classism in this festival. And I found it very, very disturbing. Thank God it didn't work. It was the cabanas. I don't know if everybody knew it, but you could rent a cabana for a day for $2,500. And you could rent one for longer. And if it came the whole week, it was something like $8,000. And it was laid out in a restricted area where the average person couldn't walk. That's not this community. That's not who we are. Why you even thought about that is beyond me. So I'm registering a real no-no, and I hope you take it to heart, because we are not a classist community. We are a community of everybody. Okay, that's what I wanted to say, and now I'm going to ask a question. Your board, and I would like a yes or a no, was basically dysfunctional between you and the leadership and the board members. It was basically dysfunctional because your leadership, as I understand it, was making all the decisions with a handful of people and then telling the rest of the board members, this is what we're doing. And I hear that they never had a chance to vote. Is this true?
The board actually votes on almost all major decisions inside the festival. There are a lot of moving parts to an event this large, and we're all volunteers, so not all of the board can be in the office 60 hours a week. So there are some decisions that have to be made without board approval, yes. Anything that is a change or something that is a major component to the weekend is a board discussion.
That's not what I heard. I heard that, well, for one example, you announced to board members that this year was going to be a musical festival. They didn't vote on that. All I want to know is, if this board continues, and I suppose the community could decide they really didn't want it to, and that it would be up to the city to say, we're not going to fund it, we're not going to give you permits. I mean, there's all sorts of machinations. I'm hoping none of it happens. But I would like to know, are there other board members here? Could you stand up? And no, this is important. This is important, Lauren. And no. Would you wait a minute? This is.
She's not wasting anybody's time. Let her speak.
Would you all stand up again? Did you all feel that everything that was a change or something like that was brought to you for a vote?
Like Chris is saying,
operational and day-to-day things that come up or that have to be made a quick decision on when we're not all available 60 hours a week, because we all have jobs and lives and we're all volunteers, there are executive decisions on certain operational things.
I understand that part. I do, Chris. I honestly do. That there are things that can't wait, and you can make a decision executively with your executive body. But unless board members were lying to me, there was no voting on a lot of stuff. And they may be still afraid to say that now. All I want to know is you know, you seem like a nice guy. You really do. And I have a feeling sooner or later you and I will be friends. But in the meantime, I'm pissed at you. You know, I'm really pissed. Will you tell me that you will conduct your leadership with inclusivity and discussion with the board? And then I'm fine, but I'm going to be watching.
I hope you are.
Beg pardon?
I hope that you are watching.
And
we are absolutely having conversations now, and we will continue to have them through 2017 for this next event, absolutely. And I hope that you and Dan continue to come to meetings.
How many board members are you allowed with your nonprofit?
We have a maximum of 15.
And how many do you have now?
12.
12. How are you going to conduct, will it be open elections? Have you thought about it?
Our nominations are in September, and then our elections are in October.
Okay, so is there going to be a process to apply? Because there may be people right here who want to do a good job.
I hope there are. Again, we are a volunteer board. There is no manual that comes, you know, so you want to run a Pride Festival, flip to page 54. You know, there will always be, we evolve every year, and there will always be some mistakes and some wins. And not every member of the board can be in the office. I was in the unique position this year that I could be in the office 40, 50, 60 hours a week. It is a lot of work, and it is a thankless job. But it is important for the board and to do this for the community. Again, if there are members of you here that want to participate in that, it's chris@lapride.org. Let's start a conversation, and let's get you involved.
Okay, next question.
Thank you. Peter Cruz, APAIT. Chris, one of our early conversations, one of the concerns that I brought up to you was the fact that the LGBTQ community was de-emphasized in the marketing of the event this year, specifically on the website. And one of the things that you said to me was that the website was a framework and that it was going to be continually updated until Pride weekend. And I continually check the website, and the acronym LGBTQ is a footnote at the bottom of the page. I just checked it before I came up, and it's still a footnote at the bottom of the page. So I'd like to know, why was the LGBTQ community de-emphasized on the website and the marketing of this year's event, and will you commit not to repeat that again for future festivals?
So first, let me just be very clear on one thing, because this has been, this has come up, and I understand there's some sensitivity. This has never been LGBTQ Pride or Gay Pride in sort of the logo. It's always been LA Pride. We've always had a colorful website, and this year we did relaunch the website, and things were continually added up until the day of the festival. Again, because we're all volunteers, we don't have any paid employees, and it's very difficult to have the bandwidth to get everything accomplished. We had 1 million goals, and we maybe only got a few of them done. But we are actually right now in the middle of working on the website, and I would hope within the next couple weeks, a lot of those concerns we will actually have finally updated. And again, shoot me an email and we can talk about some of the new things coming up. But it is still a priority for the organization, and we're still working towards that.
Hi. Did you say, as you were accused of saying, that you wanted this music festival to be like Coachella?
When we talk about this art program that we wanted to shift this year, and one of the things that was important for me to accomplish was more experiences inside the festival. So before, the organization had we had an arts and heritage section in the Plinth Garage, and we just didn't see the kind of traffic that we felt like the Arts and Heritage program deserved. Not because of a programming perspective, but the location was a terrible location for artwork. And we really wanted to bring that through the fabric of the festival. Other music festivals like FYF Fest and Coachella have a very strong arts program. And those pieces are scattered throughout their festival grounds, and they are an experience for festival goers. So what we really wanted to accomplish this year was queer art that was actually all over the festival that you could experience, and not have it just sort of a section that could be overlooked.
Quick, please, quick. Did you get the answer to his question?
Honestly, I don't remember saying that. It was in January. But I can tell you what the intent of the program is, and it was to have large-scale pieces. And when I met with Mark, that was the direction of our conversation, was that we wanted to take it out of the Plinth Garage and have more large photograph moments. So. Sure. So what we did was we changed our art program this year, which actually included film and installation amongst a group of queer artists who are international artists.
Yeah, very quick. Two things. One is regarding the logos. It wasn't just the website that I didn't see LGBT mentioned, but when I walked into the festival, just LA Pride everywhere. There was no mention of any gay and lesbian. There's no signage that I witnessed. And is that normal?
We actually had almost the exact same festival. From the entrance was the same as last year. It was a giant rainbow flag, symbol of the community. And inside the festival was also very colorful and LA Pride branding.
Well, I'm just saying the words, maybe last year, but I'm just saying the words LGBTQ appeared nowhere on the signage when you walked in.
And I could be wrong, I don't know that we've ever specifically had LGBTQ on some of the signage inside the festival because it's LA Pride, so we assume that.
Okay, all right, that's fine. The second thing, the reason why I came up was, you mentioned that this was a very difficult year, but you were kind of vague. Does that mean you lost money?
Well, we don't. We probably did lose money. I don't know yet until we have our final sponsorship figures in. Like I said before, there's a lot of moving parts here, and some of our sponsors are in the form of grants, and we don't see that money until it actually shows up. So we don't have final figures yet. We're a month, 6 weeks past the event. It takes some of these sponsors quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure yet is the answer.
So are you, I'm not sure if do you have an audit process where you're actually, your books are transparent?
Yeah, so we are, as a 501c3, we do a 990 filing every year. for the past 2 years and going forward, we will be audited every single year to make sure that we maintain the federal requirements for a nonprofit, and that's done by an independent auditor.
We want to get to as many people as possible, and I know that everyone has a lot to say, but that's also why we have the survey where you can actually give comments. It's not just closed-end questions. It asks you what you felt that you haven't said here tonight. So,
thank you. Richard Kraft, resident of West Hollywood. I'm curious, when you have your board elections in October, who votes on the board members? And if the answer is the existing board, how do we ever get the opinions of other stakeholders in the event involved in board elections?
That's a great question, actually. Our board meetings are actually all public. And so you don't have to be a board member to have your voice heard. Sorry, did I misunderstand your question?
The question is not how do we get involved. The question is, when you have your elections, who has votes on who the board members are?
Yes, so our board members vote on incoming members, yes.
And so my point is, if only existing board members are voting on the new board members, how do we ever get the opinions of the larger community involved in the actual election of board members? Where do they have their voice?
Okay, again, that's a fair question. We have 15 slots for board members. That is far too few for, voices of the entire community. So again, the meetings are public, and we take, show up. I mean, we value the community's feedback. That's why we wanted to be here with all of you. I'm sorry, wait.
The point of the question is, we can come and give feedback at a meeting, but how does the community ever get input as to the actual election? Like, if you guys are just voting on yourselves, it just becomes an insular board where you're just choosing the people that you want to be on your board. There should be some system where people can be a member of Christopher Street West and therefore have a vote on the board. And then you could possibly get some more community input and change the nature of the board.
That's fair. I don't know, we're held accountable to California state rules for nonprofits. I don't know exactly what those rules are.
I'm Mike Carrier. I'm the treasurer of CSW. I just wanted to add to that point, and how I got on the board is a friend brought me in, and this is the part of the process. If you know someone who's on the board, or you sit in on a meeting, you say, I'm here because I'm interested in possibly being a board member, and I want to check you guys out. So after that process happens, you might want to come like a couple times, and then you would leave like a resume. There's forms to fill out, so we have some kind of a background on what you can bring to the board. And we, as board members, vote, should we bring this person in? And then there is a process. But
but the problem is that process still means that the existing board members are the gatekeepers as to who comes.
Correct. The existing board members have to vote on it.
Where there can be a general membership, and that membership elects the board.
So I guess the question is, can you look at your process for electing new members of the board?
And make it more open to the general public.
Okay, thank you.
You seem to pride yourself in being a nonprofit, and all the nonprofits that I know of, or at least the functional ones, disclose all their books. So you alluded to something earlier. So one, what is your concrete timeline to disclosing those books? And if not, why is the city continuing doing business with you if you can't seem to be transparent in that regard?
So we disclose our 990 every year. Like every every nonprofit does that. We are going through the final audit right now for our 2015. Hopefully, we'll be done in the next week or two, and then 2015 financials will be out and open to the public. 2016 is, it will be next April. A lot of nonprofits do post those 990s on the websites, or there are more information on the sites. Again, unlike some nonprofits in the city, we have 0 employees. And there's just only so much bandwidth that we have as volunteers. If there's anything that you want, email me, come into the office. I'm happy to show you anything you want. There's only so much bandwidth we have to be sort of publishing things all the time. But, we want to be an open organization.
Hi, Chris. You made it very clear at the beginning that you're a volunteer and you don't get paid.
Correct.
Did you authorize the payment of anyone who would be categorized at a consultant category, or did you have a volunteer negotiate with all of your talent, for example? Or did you pay a single company a large sum of money, which included them going out and getting the talent? Because I appreciate that you keep saying that you have no paid employees. You have not spoken about this amount of money that has been spent on these outside consultants.
Okay,
could you please address that?
Absolutely, absolutely. So that is correct. We do not have any full-time year-round staff. We have seasonal consultants that we bring in, and those consultants do a lot of the heavy lifting for the board. So, production, with Jeff, we have a PR company and we have a sponsorship person. So, the board as the volunteers, we have obviously limited reach, so we do hire seasonal contractors. As part of that question, we went through an RFP process this year with our contractors, our vendors, and anyone who sort of touches us financially. And we actually uncovered a significant amount of savings. And we, as a nonprofit, do get some good rates. But it's always good to go through a fresh process of RFP to find, new vendors. But we do have seasonal consultants, and that's who does most of the work for the organization.
Hi, Jamie from Being Alive. What is your mission statement at CSW? Are you a mission-driven organization, and do all your board members focus all their decisions based on the mission statement?
That's a great question. Actually, it's very, very topical. So we, as an organization, have for years had a mission statement that was somewhat vague. And it's something that every few years we try to look at and try to make it more laser focused. It's actually one of the priorities of the board to review that periodically and try to figure out, are we still, does this still make sense? And so it's one thing that we would like to take a look at to see if over the next year we can evaluate whether or not this mission statement is too vague, or if there is an opportunity for the organization to be more specific about our goals. And what I mean by that is, when you have a mission statement that it's hard to make decisions from an organizational standpoint if you don't have a very specific mission. Ours has always been, to give back to the community, and that's what we want to do. But I think there's some room there to, look at the language and see if that can be improved.
First of all, you say the meetings are open to the public, but I've been to those meetings, and then after public comment, you ask everybody to leave the room so the board can deliberate without any public comment. So that is a false statement. You also say that the opening statement was that nonprofits take up 50 booths. That is not correct. It does not take up 50 booths, not when you measure it. But I want to ask you a direct question. You're the boss, right? Were you the one that decided the final say to eliminate Friday night programming as free, to eliminate the TV that goes to West Hollywood residents, to eliminate the transgender on Friday night, to shut out many nonprofits, to exclude small businesses from competing in this festival, to not have any programming for seniors, to not have any programming for disabled folks, and as I said, the TV. You had the final say on all those. Is that a yes or no question?
I do not have the final say because we vote as a board. There's a lot of things to go through there. Some of which we actually did have 50 nonprofit booths this year. They were down San Vicente. The decision to not have for-profit local businesses was a very difficult one for the organization. They have been a very vibrant part of the festival for years. And when we were sort of pinched from the top and the bottom of San Vicente, we had a tough decision to make, and we wanted to stay true to our nonprofit partners, and so they were the 50 exhibitor booths we had inside the festival. The broadcast for the city has always been, it's sort of been done on behalf of the city with a subsidy from the city, and this year, we went to council and kind of said, if you guys would like to have this, instead of us doing it for you, we'll give it back to you. And so that's what we did. And then we allowed the city to decide kind of how they wanted to cover the event.
This is the last question.
Let me just work once. And the open meetings, we do have closed session on some occasions. We do when we are discussing things that would not, sensitive information or confidential trade secrets, things like that. We do go into closed session. That is probably 3 times a year. It's quite rare until we get to close to festival season or to the actual event. 95% of our meetings are actually just open meetings. So again, if any of you would like to attend, we have those once a month, and there's rarely a closed session.
It's very quick. You've mentioned that you're all volunteers, and you've mentioned that this is like 40 to 60 hours a week. I'm just kind of curious, why do you do this?
There are some mornings I ask myself that. Actually, that's a really easy question to answer. So I'm a fine artist by trade. I'm a painter. And I also throw some events in town. But when you spend most of your life in the studio working alone and living alone, it's kind of solitary. I really felt like this was a really great opportunity to give back to the community. And because I had the luxury of 40 to 50 hours a week, that was a unique opportunity that not a lot of other people have. And I wanted to use that in a way that was, a community building, exercise. Like I said, there's no manual to this. This was the first year that I had done it. And I know that, there were some missteps that we took. But the reason we're in this room now is because we do feel a sense of duty to the community. That's why we're all here, not just me. And I hope that all of you will, collaborate with us on 2017.
Thank you, Chris. We are out of time, so this is what's going to be happening. Next steps. First of all, if you have a question for Chris, it's chris@lapride.org. If you have comments that you would like to share with the city, please go to our website at weho.org, www.weho.org. The survey is online. There are several places where there is room for you to give open-end comments. In other words, you can talk about whatever you want us to know. We are seeing the results of those surveys. John and I are seeing them. Staff is seeing them. The next step in terms of staff's going to look at everything that you said. People have been taking notes. They're going to make lists, and we are going to get summaries of that at council, and it is going to help us to prepare for the next forum, which will be the August 17th, same place, same time. And at that forum, we are going to discuss Pride of the Future. And we will not be talking about everything that everyone thinks everyone did wrong. We are going to be positive. We are going to work on what can we do to make this event an event that the community feels is their event, that the event that we can all be proud of. And I do want to thank CSW. They were in the line of fire tonight, and they took it very well. So I know that, you know, there are a lot of issues this last Pride. I want to see us do what we can to make the next Pride flow a little bit easier. Okay? Thank you very much for coming. Really appreciate it.